Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello students, nice to meet you again. Now back to poetry class. The title of our class today is The Person in the Poem. The tone of a poem, we said, is like tone of a voice in that both communicative feelings. Still, this comparison raises a question. When we read a poem, whose voice speaks to us? So this is the condition when we read a poem. Sometimes we don't know who speaks to us, whose voice is in the poem. The poet is one possible answer. Yes, maybe the voice is the poet, the voice of the poet. And in the case of many a poem, that answer may be right. So this answer may be right, like this one. Reading and backstitch the author to her book, we can be reasonably sure that the poet speaks of her very own book and for her own experiences. So this is an example of a book that the voice comes from the writer. In order to read a poem, we seldom need to read a poet's biography. But in truth, there are certain poems whose full effect depends upon our knowing at least a fact or two of the poet's life. So sometimes the biography of the poet is helpful to know the meaning of the poem. Here is one such poem. We have an example here. Natasha Tritiwi, he writes a poem, the title, White Lies. The lies I could tell when I was growing up like bright, near white, high yellow, red bone in a black place were just white lies. So pay attention. Again, about how to read a poem. I want to emphasize that the end of the line doesn't always mean the end of a sentence, like this one. When I was growing up like bright, near white, high yellow, red bone in a black place. This is one statement. So it must be continued from the second line to the third and the fourth. The lies I could tell when I was growing up light bright near white, high yellow, red bone in a black place were just white lies. White lies. You know the meaning of white lies? Yes, the white who always tell you lies. If you don't know the meaning of lies, just look up in your dictionary. I could easily tell the white folks that we lived uptown. I could easily tell the white folks that we lived uptown. White folks, people with white skin, that we lived uptown. Uptown is the opposite of downtown. Downtown is the center of the town, but uptown is usually far from the center. Not in that pink and green, sanctified shotgun section along the tracks. I could act like my homemade dresses came straight out the window of Mason Lounge. I could even keep quiet as kept, like the time a white girl said, squeezing my hand, now we have 3 of us in this class. So here, The poem tells about the writer herself. The writer is actually not from white folks, but he tried to make a communication, to make friends with the white folks. But I paid for it every time Mama found out. I paid for it every time Mama found out. She laid her hands on me, then washed out my mouth with ivory soap. This is to purify, she said, and cleanse your lying tongue. Believing her, I swallowed suds, thinking they'd work from the inside out. But I paid for it every time Mama found out. So the writer, the author, or the poet pay the consequences. She has to know the consequences when Mama found out. She laid her hands on me like this. She laid her hands on me, then washed out my mouth with ivory soap. Washed out my mouth with ivory soap. You know soap? Yes. When you go to the bathroom and you take a bath, you use soap. Yeah? Here, Mama laid her hands on me and washed out my mouth with ivory soap. This is to purify, she said. Yeah? So to purify, to make it pure, and cleanse your lying tongue. According to Mama, her tongue is very dirty, so she cleansed the lying tongue. Believing her, I swallowed such thinking that worked from the inside out. And the writer, the poet, believed her mother and swallowed the soap, eat the soap, thinking that worked from the inside out. She thinks that the soap will work from inside her body to cleanse the mouth. Through its pattern of vivid color imagery, Three Tavis poem tells of a black child light enough to pass for white in a society that was still extremely race sensitive. Here, vivid color imagery. Do you know vivid color imagery? Vivid color imagery we find in this poem like this. Yeah? When I was growing up, light, bright, near white, high yellow, red bone in a black place were just white lies. So this is imagery. Yeah? Imagery, color imagery, vivid. Vivid is very bright. Yeah? Vivid is alive. Here again, back to the explanation. Through its pattern of vivid color imagery, Three Tavis poem tells of a black child light enough to pass for white. Yeah? So, Three Tavis is actually a black child, person from black, Negro. But black child light enough to pass for white, not so black, although she was a Negro, but she is not so black. According to this explanation, light enough to pass for white in a society that was still extremely race sensitive. So race in America is very sensitive, not only in that year when Three Tavis life, but also here now, until now, when President Donald Trump always claimed that the white is better than the black. But knowing the author's family background, gives us a deeper insight into the levels of meaning in the poem. So, after knowing the life of the poet Tridavis, then we know we have understood the meaning, the levels of meaning in the poem. Now, this is the biography of Tritavi. Tritavi was born in Mississippi in 1966, at the time when her parents' interracial marriage was a criminal act in that state. So in Mississippi, one of state in the United States of America, in America, it is a crime, according to this explanation. Interracial marriage was a criminal act, and on her birth certificate, her mother's race was given as color. Color is between black and white. In the box intended to record the race of her father, who was white and had been born in Nova Scotia, appeared the word Canadian, although her parents divorced before she began grade school. She remained extremely close to both of them. So, her mother is Canadian. So it is white, because interracial marriage between black and white, and then Tritavi in between black and white. Tritavi has said of her birth certificate, something is left out of the official record that way. The irony isn't lost on me. Even in documenting myself as a person, there is a little fiction. White lies succeeds admirably on its own, but these biographical details allow us to read it as an even more complex meditation on issues of racial definition and personal identity in America. So, personal identity at that time is very important, whether a person is white or a person is black, because the racial issues always happen in America at that time, even until now. Most of us can tell the difference between a person we meet in life and a person we meet in a work of art. Unlike the moviegoer in the Philippines who, watching a film, in an exciting film, pulled out a revolver and peppered the screen. And yet, in reading poems, we are liable to temptation. Yes, according to this explanation, we can distinguish life in work of art and life in real life. An example is in Philippines. They cannot distinguish life in film and life in real life. People in the Philippines who watch a film, in exciting film, then he took or a revolver or a pistol and then peppered the screen. Shoot the screen like shooting someone else. It is in Philippines, but here in Indonesia, we are different. We can distinguish life in films and life in real life. And yet in reading poems, we are liable to temptation. Yes, according to this statement, in reading poems, sometimes we are also experiencing such condition. We don't like someone, we don't like the story in the poem, then we are annoyed. We hate the person. We are liable to temptation. That's about our discussion today. We talk about person in the poem. And you have to remember again that the person in the poem can be the poet himself, but also can be someone else. It can be a person, it can be not only a person, it can be an animal, or maybe it can be a tree. So remember that person, voice in the poem can be from the poets, can also from someone else. Okay, thank you for your attention and have a nice day. See you next time. Stay safe, stay healthy. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.